We welcome you back to Desert Financial Arena. Alan Judson alongside Harry Kaseff. Utah State gave Arizona State all they could handle throughout this one, but the Devils in dominant fashion came through with a 3-1 win. But now we take a look at the national bracket here in 2025. A few teams have punched their ticket to the Sweet 16. Kansas, Indiana, Wisconsin, Arizona State, and Creighton, the only guaranteed matchup thus far. Kentucky has punched their ticket, and Purdue has punched their ticket. But let's take a look at the conference first, Harry. The Big 12 for Arizona State sent 10 teams to the tournament. They've already had 4 eliminated, and only 2, Arizona State and Kansas thus far, have clinched their spot in the third/4th round. What's been the difference for the Big 12?
The Big 12 just has a few top-tier teams. Arizona State, Kansas, Iowa State is still in it, but other than that, there isn't as much depth in the Big 12 as there is in the likes of the Big 10 and the SEC. Look for the Big 12 to still make noise. Arizona State with a great matchup next weekend against Creighton in Lexington. Expect J.J. Van Niel to get his squad in order and expect them to go into that match aggressive and attacking.
Yeah, especially after this weekend, there is no easy matchup for the rest of the tournament. If everything goes chalk, Arizona State, if they want to win a national title, still has Creighton, Kentucky, Texas, who they've already lost to this year, and Nebraska to go through. Even if you look at Nebraska's, they've got both Kansas teams, Kansas State and Kansas. They have to go through Louisville. They have to go through the 1 seed Pittsburgh, and then also get through. So it's such a tough road for all of these teams to get to the end. But I do want to point this out, Harry. In the region just above ASU, in that Texas region, a pair of first-round upsets. North Carolina took down UTEP, and the Big 12's very own Arizona took down South Dakota State. How do you see Texas's chances, although they've got a date with reigning national champion Penn State in the second round? How do you see Texas and Stanford throughout the rest of this tournament?
Well, Texas and Stanford are 2 of the most perennial, well-known destinies in college volleyball. I expect both of them to make it to the Elite 8 for that matchup to win the region. And I expect Stanford, a dynamic setter, true freshman, Alex Parks, 6'2", hits in the front row, sets in the back row, a dynamic true freshman. Expect her to be the reason why the needle moves across the line. Stanford books their ticket to Kansas City over Texas.
Stanford still yet to play even their first game. They've got Utah Valley, and then they'll play Arizona if they can take down the Wolverines. But UVU pitched an upset in the NCAA Baseball Tournament. Maybe they've got another one coming in here. In the state of Utah, Harry, had 4 teams make the NCAA Tournament. Utah State is now out. They're the only team that's won their game so far. BYU, as the higher seed, lost in the first round. Utah nearly took down Northern Iowa, but couldn't get it done. So now UVU, the last hope for the state just north of us to try and stay in this tournament. But going back to this region, Kentucky, Arizona State, and Creighton, 1, 2, 3, have already punched their ticket. USC and Cal Poly underway. Do you see this region going chalk all the way through? Do you see the Devils, maybe the Blue Jays, pulling off an upset in Lexington?
The Blue Jays are going to have an outstanding matchup. It'll be Ava Martin, 30 kills in their opening round match, going up against the likes of Noemi Glover and Kyla Presley. It'll be a great match to watch. I cannot wait for it. Kentucky, the Wildcats are a whole nother beast. Arizona State or Creighton are going to have to be battle tested and prove they belong in the Final Four if they want to play for a national championship in Kansas City. But BYU, like you mentioned, upset early by Cal Poly in 5. BYU could have joined Arizona State in Lexington if they were to have won their first and second round matchups in Los Angeles. But as it stands now, I like the Sun Devils' odds to reach the Elite 8. Playing Kentucky, we've seen the parity top to bottom, small conferences against big conferences. Never say never. I do believe it is possible for the Sun Devils to go into Lexington and walk away playing for a national title in Kansas City.
Creighton was given all they could handle in the first 2 rounds. Northern Colorado took them to 5 sets. UNI in the second round. Creighton to 4 sets, and the Blue Jays really struggled in those middle sets, the second, third, and even the fourth, to get things done against UNI, who really struggled with Utah in the first round. So it's just been a fantastic tournament even thus far. We'll look over now to Pitt's region as we go through. Florida upset Rice. The 10-7s in this tournament, you have to say, have been fantastic. All 4 10 seeds won. Utah State, Arizona, Marquette, and Florida all took down the 7 seed. Florida swept Rice earlier today. They've now got a game with SMU coming up. The winner of that game will face Purdue in the Sweet 16. Harry?
Great matchups, top to bottom, from the 1 seeds all the way down to 16. There is no such thing as an easy matchup. There's no walkthrough matches in the NCAA tournament. The parity coast to coast is there, and that's why all these athletes at smaller conferences like the Big West, the Big Sky, you mentioned Northern Colorado pushing Creighton to 5. All those smaller conferences have been waiting for this moment all season, and they are taking their opportunity with the utmost seriousness, and they are doing whatever it takes. They're leaving it all on the court to advance to the next round.
We've still got a fantastic day of volleyball tomorrow. For those matchups that are tomorrow, which one are you eyeing the most as maybe the most interesting to watch and maybe the best chance for an upset? Personally, I'm super interested in this Texas A&M TCU game. In-state rivalry, Big 12, SEC, 2 big volleyball conferences, 2 teams that swept their first round. Which ones are you most excited to watch?
Well, that one jumps off the screen just as I'm looking at it right now. The 2 highest rated teams in the bracket so far, they will face off with each other in the Nebraska quadrant. But other than that, I love this Minnesota-Iowa State matchup going on just to the left of the Arizona State quadrant. And Michigan had an impressive sweep. Amanda Ellison, their outside hitter, just got drafted in the MLB to San Diego. Look for them to put up a fight against #1 ranked Pittsburgh and Olivia Babcock in Pitt. Michigan battle-tested in the Big Ten. They know what it's like to go play at Nebraska, to go play at USC, UCLA, the biggest schools. Michigan has the experience to get it done. Pittsburgh could be the first #1 seed out of the tournament.
Well, you just stole my question from me. Michigan did beat Minnesota in Ann Arbor earlier this season. They have struggled with ranked teams at times, but all you need is a few good sets, piece them together, and you could be on to the next round. Do you think it's Pitt? Do you think it's a different one of the 1 seeds who's maybe the first to go down?
I do think Pitt is the first 1 seed to go down. I think their reliance on Babcock as their star player is just too heavy. If one team is able to stop her or just slow her down, we could see the Pitt Panthers crumble. And you know who I love in that quadrant, #2 SMU. In the past few years, they have burst onto the scene of NCAA college volleyball. Expect for them to make a huge run. They play Florida tomorrow night at 6, and then have Purdue, who I must say is not as good as Purdue usually is. Their top 2 attackers last year transfer out. SMU could have the easiest path per se to the Final Four if Michigan is able to pull off the upset in Pittsburgh.
That SMU team did not beat Pitt in the regular season. They lost in 5 and in 4 in back-to-back matchups towards the end of September. But again, it's been months. It's a much different SMU team should they face Pitt. Last question before we round things off here on Blaze Radio, blazeradioonline.com. Harry, your national champion and why?
My national champion has to be Nebraska. Not only are they experienced now, but they're battle-tested. They've been to the Final Four. If you're checking off the boxes of what you need to be a national champion, they check off all the boxes, definitely more boxes than any other team. I think they match up really well against just about anyone. They play their game to the best of their ability, no matter who's on the other side of the court. If you're asking me who gives them the biggest speed bump, I think it's Stanford, and I think it's Kentucky. How about you, Alan? Who do you see taking it home?
Stanford or Kentucky, that would be the championship for Nebraska to face. I'm really looking in this bottom right quadrant. I really like this Kentucky team. I think they'll have to face a gauntlet to get there. UCLA today gave Kentucky all they could handle. 2 sets, went to 58 total points. USC or Cal Poly, whoever comes, that might be, you know, by far the easiest game that Kentucky will have the rest of the tournament. Whoever comes out of Arizona State. Creighton is going to be a fantastic, fantastic matchup. Stanford, Texas is going to be a fantastic matchup. But if Kentucky can get to the national title, I think that run of games, how tested they will be, how much trust they'll have to put in one another, could put Kentucky over the top. But as you were saying, it's so difficult, maybe even impossible, to not pick the Nebraska Cornhuskers as the national champions. Alan Judson and Henry Kaseff, that's all we have for you from Desert Financial Arena today. The game here, Arizona State wins in 4. They dominate the Aggies in the first and last set, but Utah State put up a fight in the middle, second and third, even stealing the third set. But for Harry Kaseff, for our producer Aiden O'Neill, my name is Alan Judson. We thank you for spending your Friday evening with us here